Hey there, magical experimenters. Taylor Ellwood here. And I was recently asked a question, which was the following one. Um, just rearrange some things here. Here we go. I was asked, have you ever worked with your personal zodiac, either the Western sun sign or other planets or your Chinese or different astrological system? If so, what sort of experiences did you have and what were the benefits? And if you worked with celestial bodies outside of our solar systems, which one and how did it go? Okay, so that's a lot of questions right there. Um, but I'm happy to answer it. For a long time, I didn't do any work with planetary magic. And then I got curious about it because of my friend Eric Roth, who did some shamanic astrology for me. And he does these really good readings that I feel are spot on and accurate. It's helped me out a lot. Check him out at inspiralnexus.com. Really, really solid reader. Anyway, I when I gotten a couple readings from him, it made me start getting curious about working with the astrological cycles. I mean, I had always known that I was a Libra sun, but I didn't know that I was a Libra moon, and that actually, because I was born on the cusp, that actually ended up making me a Scorpio moon, because it was Libra Scorpio. I didn't know that my Saturn was in Leo, and that what that meant is that I would have to do a lot of work around self-love and self-respect, and that me trying to find the love and validation in relationships was always going to be a crutch until I started doing that work. And that's kind of that's a lot of the work I'm doing right now in my life. I didn't know about my Venus being in Sagittarius or my Jupiter in Taurus or my Scorpio Mars. Like, I didn't know what any of that meant. And some people might say, well, does it really mean anything? And I think that a lot of times it does. There is a lot of meaning there, and that once you discover it and learn it, it can kind of help you understand certain personality traits and qualities about yourself. And it's not meant to be this prescriptive thing that boxes you in. It's just, it can give you some insights. Like, for example, with my Scorpio Mars, it kind of explains to me why I have a ton of energy in my life. My Aquarius as a rising sign explains to me why I'm so driven toward experimentation. So, you know, for whatever that's worth to you, I think that there is some real benefits there. And it is interesting because I would say that I've worked pretty much with Western astrology, but I have looked at like the meaning of like the fire dragon, because I was born in the year of the fire dragon, and I've looked at the planets to some degree, or the years in relationship to that, and tapping into elemental energies, and I found that to be interesting, but not to the same extent. What I've been doing in the last couple of years is I've been also doing a lot of reading up on astrology on my own. So I read this book on Pluto, for example, that taught me a lot about what the meaning of Pluto is and how Pluto kind of relates. So like Pluto for me was Pluto and Libra, and so it's like, oh, this is healing the wounds of relationship. Thanks. but that's what it is, right? And that's shown up a lot in my life. And then I've read a couple of books on Saturn, and I've read some other books, and all of these books have kind of helped me get a better understanding of astrology, and in turn I've actually applied it toward the planetary magic that I've done. So I do a lot of planetary magic now, and I've been working with like these pentacles, which are like, this is a pentacle for Jupiter for wealth. This one is for Mercury for unusual communication and inspiration. This one is Iranian. No, it's actually a Neptunian pentacle for space-time magic work. And I've worked with these, and they are really helpful in terms of doing some planetary magic, or adding planetary magic to existing magical workings that wouldn't incorporate them otherwise. And what I found actually is that I've been steadily implementing this and adding planetary or celestial magic to my magical work for the last over the last few years in particular, but even before that. I would say my first working was actually a working I did where it was a pop culture magic. I was working with the Dahara from the Wraithu series that Storm Constantine wrote, and one of them, Thede, who's like a deity of space and time, took me to each of the planets and showed me how the planets connected with each other and how there were these lines of force between the planets and how those interacted with me. And that was what first kind of clued me in that there might be more to astrology than what I thought. And then my friend Eric came along and showed me how much more there really was. And it was like, wow. And I started exploring it on my own. And so, I mean, I think, the benefits for me as far as it being is that it's helped me refine my magical work by being able to draw upon other influences. I even have on my hands, you can see like the tattoos of the astrological symbols, including the thumbs. And I got that as a way of honoring the planets and honoring the work that I'm doing with them. And then you asked if I'd worked with other celestial bodies, and I have. I've been doing some work with stars as well, on occasion. My friend Eric again has actually been doing some really interesting stuff as well, so I like really check his work out. But I have done some work with stars. I find like again that it's just kind of interesting because what it does is it allows you to tap into just this different way of being and thinking. In a sense, it's a different experience because you're tapping into these celestial influences that are out there. And it was interesting. I actually got in a conversation with my mom about this the other day when I was visiting her, and we were talking about astrology, and she's like, well, how do you like what's your thought, like why does this even, like, how do you explain these influences? And I said, well, the way I look at it, if we want to look at it from a scientific approach, is that the different planets have also exert their own gravitational fields, and to some degree that is affecting us because those planets have a relationship with the Earth, and they also have a relationship with us. I mean, you look at the planet, the moon, for example, which isn't a planet, but our moon has a gravitational influence, on us in terms of its fullness and then where it is in the cycle. So, I mean, why not? Now, that may or may not be accurate or not. I mean, that's just my best guess as to why this stuff works. But based on what I see, it kind of makes sense. So, I mean, my own approach to celestial magic, or as I call it, is and I'm going to eventually teach a class on this too, and probably write a book, like, for example, I'll apply planetary pentacles to channel specific influences on ongoing magical workings that I have. Or like when I call in the sphere of art, I will call in those planetary influences for that and arrange it as a way of drawing upon those specific influences. The sphere of art, I actually have these vials of dry and wet alchemical influences, and I have them set up as the Kabbalistic tree of life. But there's also planetary and elemental correspondences that are embedded into them as well, and so I can draw upon those influences when I call up the sphere. I mean, really, at the end of the day, this is kind of like a powerful form of additional magic. And I mean, the best advice I can give you is, like, if you're interested in working with it, is do some research. Be prepared to do a little bit of a deep dive, because it can be really helpful to learn more about this, like from the astrological perspective. Like, what does it mean when there's an astrological current? For example, right now for me, I'm experiencing a current around Uranus and around the root in relationship to home. And that's something that's been definitely played a powerful effect on me. I've kind of come back to a sense of grounding myself in my home in a different way. You know, this started up earlier this year, and I think it's really telling that I've had a number of changes occur in my personal and professional life where I've had to really recognize that Iranian influence, in terms of just the creativity that's been involved, but also coming back to a sense of home and what that means for me, and coming back to a sense of myself as well and what that means to me. So these are all very powerful energies and currents that are flowing, and one of the best things that we can do is really explore that in relationship to ourselves and how it shows up in our lives. And you know, I mean, a lot of it's personal work, but when in terms of just benefit of results, I mean, yeah, I've found that drawing upon the astrological influences has been helpful for helping me get some real powerful results in my life. And you know, it's good to know when to draw upon those influences. So hopefully that answers the question, and or questions, and thanks for asking them. And if you're watching this video, make sure that you subscribe so you get notified about my videos. This is a way for you to, you know, also get some fun, interesting stuff from me. All right, thanks and take care.